We've all got scars, some on the outside and some on the inside. But we can't be defined by our scars. I've spoken with some extraordinary people about how they've become empowered by their scars. This is I've Got Scars, baby.
All right, so I am so excited right now to have someone I've known for such a very long time, Miss Melanie Luja. And okay, so it's gonna be a long introduction. Okay, let me tell you, it's gonna be a long one. So I need y'all to sit back and see all the things that she does. Okay, hold on. First, she is a soul work practitioner. She is a Reiki master. She is CEO of Subtleties Hair and Skincare. She is author of Internal Balance and a master herbalist. That's a lot of stuff. That's a lot of that's a lot going on right there, Miss Melanie.
I mean, we do what we got to do. And we get it done.
Okay. You gotta do what you got to do. But with all of the different titles, at the end of the day, what you're really doing is you are working to help people heal. And that,
Right. Well, first, before that, I am working in my passion. I'm living my life's purpose. And in my life's purpose, it is the aspect of assisting people to learn how to heal themselves.
So you say, before we start there, you're living your purpose.
Right.
Okay. And your purpose is to help us to live out our purpose by helping us to heal in whatever ways we need to heal, because sometimes there's some stuff in the way and we gotta get the stuff out the way so we can get to the heal, get to the purpose that we each and everybody else has, right? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that part. But with that comes the aspect of, I am a healer, but I'm a healer of me. And I can show other people how to be their own healer. And the reason why that's so important is because a lot of times people look outside of self for healing. And they can come to me all day long and I can give them a whole lot of tools and all of that good stuff. But I need to know who the person is so I can show them how they can use what they innately have to heal themselves. And that is a part of everyone's life purpose, is to be able to heal self.
Now, see, that's something I'm glad that you stated that, because that's something that you don't usually hear. A lot of people are just looking for the next quick fix. What is this thing that I can take? What is this thing that I can do over there? I need to go to that gym. That's going to heal me. I need to go on that date. That's going to heal me. I need to watch this TV show. That's going to heal me. Essentially, you're saying, hey, the healing's already with you. You just need to. Okay. So,
I deal with a lot of clients who have chronic illness sometimes, and some people just have a regular illness that they can get over. But with that being said, there's a path to curing a disease, right? Then we see that a lot in the medical field. There is the path of healing in a space where we know that the resolution is more or less in the mind rather than in the physical body. Right. So learning the difference between the cure and the healing is very important, because we have the healing with us everywhere we go, but we don't always have the cure.
Okay. So that brings me to your work as a soul work practitioner. Let's define that. Like, what does that mean? Because you heard of various practitioners, you heard of a nurse practitioner. So what is a soul work practitioner?
The interesting thing about a soul work practitioner is that it cannot just be defined, because it can't really be put in a box. Everybody is dealing with their soul, right? So with each individual person, they have to do the work for themselves and make sure that their soul is in the right place. When I traveled to Ghana, the guide had asked the group, do you know what an ancestor is? Right. And so everybody came up with these various definitions, and everybody's definition was right. But there was one thing that was missing. And he told us that you can only be an ancestor in the next realm when you become one in this physical realm, meaning that the work that you do here lives, and when you're no longer here, it still is here. So it's important for us to know that, because we when our spirits leave our bodies, we become souls, and we want to make sure that we're not becoming lost souls. So the soul work is making sure that we're in divine alignment with who we are meant to be innately, so that that legacy could be left here in this dimension, and also be taken with us wherever we transition into.
Okay. So what is it that you do with your clients? What kind of work do you do with them?
So again, each person is different, Now, see, let me say this. There are some clients that come to you because they want some tea, or they want some herbs because they feel like they have.
And when you say tea, you don't mean the tea. Like, girl, I need the tea.
What's they want that too, but that's what they're not gonna get. No.
Okay. She's like, no, I got
soul work is not dishing the tea.
Okay. She's like, no, I got actual tea, people. Okay. I want to clarify, because people want to be confused.
Right. As you can see right behind me, these are a few variations of the tea. So, and I'm glad you brought that point up, because these are herbal combinations that help people assist through particular ailments, or even transition from medication to a more natural, holistic way of healing themselves. Right. But with each client is different, because some clients come to us for tea and they by no means need tea. They need to go inside of self and deal with some unresolved issues that they've been working through, or they have yet to work through. They're trying to ignore or whatever. So with the client, pretty much what we do is we sit down and we listen. More than anything else, we listen. We don't offer advice. I heard someone say recently that all a life coach is someone who is your accountability partner. But it depends on what type of life coach you are, right? Yes, you are an accountability partner, but I'm not here to be your accountability partner. I'm here to show you how to be your accountability partner.
Yeah.
Why that's important is because some people have not grown to the self that they are to become. So the self that they are to become is the one holding them accountable for who they are today. So in teaching people how to heal themselves, it also teaches them how to hold accountability for self, because everybody is not going to be here for you the way you would like them to be.
Yeah. Okay. So basically, a person comes to you, they're looking for some tea. Like, child, my stomach been hurting me. What tea you have over there, darling? They asking you that. And then you look at them and you're like, so what's been going on?
Right.
Well, and then they say, well, this thing over here happened and that happened and my car stopped and then this other thing has stopped and the other thing happened and then they go into all of that. And that's when
when I tell them that Mercury must be in retrograde.
But that, for people who are like, for people who just think that the physical ailments we experience are just physical. Yeah. You would not necessarily.
First, I would identify the fact that we're going to deal with the mind, body, and spirit, right? So, a lot of times people don't realize what the difference between the three are. And that's important because ultimately there is no difference. It's all one: mind, body, spirit, right? So when we're talking with the client, we're identifying through the words that they're using what they're connecting it to. If they're connecting these things to mind or body or spirit, and then showing them how to create it as one holistic thing. So if somebody comes to me with a headache, for example, I know for sure that it's not their head that needs to be treated, right? So we're not gonna get a scalpel, and we're not gonna just,
please don't. Okay.
So we start to get to the core of things. Now, as an herbalist and a naturopath, I know that usually a headache is because of what's going on in the colon or because the body is dehydrated, right? So then we start to talk about what they're actually putting into their bodies and how much they're releasing from their bodies, right? And then after we start to go through those aspects of things, we can tell, oh, you may be drinking a lot of water, but your body is stopped up. Why? Oh, you're stressed out about what? Oh, did you realize that that list of things that you just gave me have nothing to do with you? So now you're holding on to other people's issues. Oh, so now we have to get rid of the issues that no longer belong to you and then start to identify who you are as a person. And that's the, part of the healing. That's where the healing comes in at, because when you don't know who you are as a person, you definitely don't know who you are as a healer, even if you know what your gifts are, because you can't use them properly if you got all of this clutter in the way. So a lot of people are going through some really good, amazing things in their lives, but because they're holding on to the good, they don't have capacity for their great, which is why they're feeling stuck or in pain or holding on to ailments, because they're afraid to be great sometimes because things are so good, and then people always say, well, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Well, we're not talking about fixing things that aren't broke. We're talking about holding capacity for things that are going to serve you in the you that you are to become.
Wow. Okay. I think it sounds like you're saying there are different levels to this, and just being good isn't even necessarily the goal. It's to be, I guess, elevating to the next level of great. What does the next level of good look like? What's the next level of, what does excellent look like? Whatever that
your good today might have been your great in the past. But if you're looking for something to move you toward the future, then whatever you've created in that past, whatever you've created as part of your ancestry or your DNA or your legacy in your past is there for someone else to now use because it is serving them now. And then it's important for you to move into your newest life purpose, So it's just like, we can take grade school, for example. You don't start in 12th grade and jump to college. You start in kinder or pre, whatever, because you have to start being able to identify the letters and numbers first before you start writing your master book.
Yeah, that's true. Because I know what it's like to sometimes you really do want to just go like, you know what? I'm ready for my PhD. It's like, wait, hold on.
The world's not ready for your PhD.
Like, you have not even conquered geometry quite yet. But hold on, you know what I'm saying? Like, hold on, we got to do some adding and subtracting. I get it. And sometimes, and I would imagine that can cause a person to feel frustrated and stuck if you're trying to move maybe a little too fast with certain things. So let's talk about balance. So you are the author of Internal Balance, which I have read multiple times, because I feel like when you read it the first time, you're like, okay. But then you grow a little bit and then you read it again. You're like, oh,
right.
Yes. Wait a minute. I saw something new. I see that before. So when we're talking about balance, or what would your definition of internal balance be?
Internal balance. So we're talking about balance, and then there's internal balance, right? Because there's external balancing that needs to be had as well, right? Okay. So internal balance is loving yourself into wholeness, right? And then also identifying those things that matter to you, and then giving each of those things the right amount of attention, so that you're not feeling like you're being pulled in multiple directions or feel like you're falling off balance, right? So a lot of times, if I say that my life's purpose is to be a mother, right? And so does that mean that I only mother the children that I give birth to versus mothering all those who come for nurturing from me? Finding a way to be able to say that all of these things matter, but they matter just as much as the next thing. So we want to make sure that our will of life is flowing in a way that we can continue to grow and vibrate higher.
Okay. So when we're talking about internal balance, and we're talking about how exactly does one achieve that? Because, when you think about internal balance, especially when you're thinking about external things, there's so much going on in the world. There's always a lot going on in the world. But I think it's especially a lot of something going on in the world at the moment. So with that, like how do you embrace internal balance? How do you do that stuff?
Well,
and there's so much going on out there.
right. The first thing is to they have this saying that says, well, we're not gonna go into the saying just yet. We're gonna bring that up later.
Okay.
But first, you would read the whole title, right? So it's not internal balance, period. It's internal balance. Would you marry you? And that means to take a complete assessment of your life and know that you are a magnet, and whatever you're vibrating on, you will attract that to you. So if you go inside of self and you start to identify these things that you want to change, this might not be the time for you to start attracting people and other energies to you, because you're going to have a lot of that stuff that you would like to change still in your present space, right? So with that, you're able to identify, okay, if I had a spouse and they had these same habits that I'm dealing with right now, how would our future look?
Ooh, okay.
So,
wait. We're gonna have to pause on that one. We're gonna have to, because that's a lot. Okay, that's a lot, and I think a lot of people don't tend to. They don't necessarily tend to see things that way, because I think, and this, I'll just speak from my own perspective. You're like, okay, look, I know I'm dealing with these particular things right here, but I just want to attract a person that complements my energy. So the stuff I'm not necessarily good at, I want them to be really great at, and vice versa. But you know what I'm saying? Like, you go into like, hey, you know,
see, let me tell you where you're going right now. Yeah. You're not dealing with the internal balance part.
I know, but I'm saying this is what a lot of times people think, that, hey, I want to attract this type of person to me, but they're not necessarily that type of person. They want to attract a loving person, but they're not a loving person. They want to attract.
You're not a loving person then, or if you think you're a loving person and you're not being so loving to yourself, you'll attract someone who's not being so loving to you either.
That's key right there. So even if I want to repeat that, because there are many people who they're like, but I'm kind, I'm generous, I do this for these people, I do that for those people, blah 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 blah. But like you said, they're not necessarily kind to themselves. They don't necessarily take a moment.
Because a lot of time when you see people saying, I do this for, you're also looking at people who do things for credit or attention, right? And there are people who do that without looking for credit or attention, for sure, you know, because it's just innately who they are. But sometimes people are giving in a space of the expectation of something to come back, when that shouldn't be the case. I remember we were really young, we used to do paybacks, like, you know, if you give me 2 of your Doritos, I'll pay you back with one of my now laters later, you know. And my mama used to get so frustrated, and she used to say, no, you don't give because you want something in return. You give it because you have to give. And if it comes back to you, then great. And if not, you did not lose, right?
Yeah.
So with that being said, we have to know that, you know, when we're expecting, like, first of all, we need to eliminate all expectations, right? Because when we're sharing from self. We're not sharing from the expectation of self. But when we do find ourselves sharing from the expectation of a response, we become very disappointed. So there's another way to weigh the scales of balance, right? If you sit in the middle of the scales, like you see here on the book, if you say this is somebody loving what you do, and this is this is a group of people that love what you do, this is a group of people that completely are against it. Are you going to get depressed because they're against it? Or are you going to get big-headed because they're with you? How about you just be the balanced self, to where it doesn't matter what other people think. I'm standing strong and firm in this because this is who I am. And however I can assist anybody, good, bad, or indifferent, agreed or disagreed, how can I continue to be me at all times? And then also still be willing to grow.
Yeah.
Because when you get stuck in one of those spaces, there's hardly any room for growth.
That makes sense. So it sounds like you're saying be in full integrity with yourself at the end of the day.
Yes.
Just like, okay, cool. I did it because this is who I am, or I didn't do it because this is who I am. And that's it. And then if you stay in that space, is it a situation where if somebody else wants to go do this X, Y, and Z over there, okay, that's where they are. That's who they are. That's what they want to do. This other person wants to do X, Y, and Z over there. And you're like, okay, that is what it is. Do you think that also helps with you not necessarily having to judge another person's situation as well?
Keyword, judging. And that's part of the issues that we have within our world, is that people are not just judging other people, but they're also judging themselves, right? But when you start to identify what it is, there's no judgment and no room for judgment there. This is what it is, and this is how I choose to deal with it, or this is how I choose not to deal with it. But a lot of people spend so much time trying to figure out what would make somebody else's life better, that places them in the space of judging someone else, because they don't realize that every time you point the finger at somebody else, you have more pointed back at you.
Yeah.
So instead of trying to change the other person, we change self. So if we know that this is Shantae, right? And Shantae is going, oh, this is just what she do, right? If I want Shantae to start treating me differently, I'm not going to treat her differently. I'm going to treat me differently, which teaches her how to treat me. So there's certain things she won't bring to me.
Now, give me an example. Give us an example of that. Because again, especially when it comes to relationships, whether it's a dating relationship or a family member. So is that like, if I want Shantae, like, Shantae never takes me out for my birthday. Like, she known me for the past 15 years. She has never said, let me take you to dinner. Do I need to take myself to dinner? Is that what you're trying to say?
No, what I'm trying to say is that you now know who Shantae is. It ain't up to you what Shantae do. It's up to you what you do. So if Shantae realizes that you're constantly taking yourself to dinner, she might come and ask you, why you always take yourself to dinner? And then now you have a conversation to have with Shantae. You see, but your expectation of her to change because you chose to do this, that don't make sense. So we always say that what someone else does to you, that's their karma, but your response is yours.
Yeah. Okay. I love it. So what do you...
I really need to make a point though.
Oh, yeah.
If you don't allow Shantae to be exactly who she is, you spending too much time trying to change her. Which means that you're not focused on your internal balance, because now your energy is going outside of self.
Okay. I like
If
this.
I don't like what Shantae is doing, then these are the areas that I don't deal with Shantae in. And then maybe Shantae will see that, and then we'll grow together. Have a space to communicate.
So you feel like, instead of necessarily directly, do you feel like direct communication is important in those situations at all, or is necessary?
We're talking about in that situation. Direct communication is important in several situations, but as we grow, we also have to be mindful that everybody can't go to our next level with us. See, it doesn't mean that we're better than them or we've grown beyond them. We've just grown to a new space, right? And they're growing to a new space as well. I always tell couples who, Oshea and I, we always say, don't talk bad about what they did or what they didn't do after the breakup, because what if all of this evolution that needs to take place with you over here and him over there, and then ultimately when you come back around, you will have no regrets because you didn't talk about them behind their back. You don't have nothing to apologize for. You worked on self. You didn't focus on what the other person did or did not do. In spaces where we are unhappy, it's because we are not doing something for ourselves that would bring us happiness, versus blaming it on the spouse or the person that we're in a relationship with.
So basically, it's like, hey, a lot of times we do sit and we wait on someone to do something for us. Things
And we
we
start judging them when they don't.
yeah, and that throws off your internal balance. So let's get to that. When we're talking about or thinking about balance, what are some things that can throw off our, I guess, external balance, and therefore, like, what are some, you know what I'm saying? Like what are some outside factors and then some inside
Unwillingness to
factors?
grow. That's the one thing that can throw it off. Because let's just say that, okay, my life path number is a 4.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a master builder. When I went to Ghana, the chief in the village gave me the name Afia Antwa Boisiako, right?
Mm-hmm.
What that name means is somebody that can get it done with or without a village, they can get it done, but they would prefer to have a team come along with them, right? Because then everybody can grow.
Mm-hmm.
So with that being said, a lot of times the problem in a relationship is because of the things that we don't want to do for ourselves, and we want somebody else to fill in those blanks.
Yeah.
Right. And so we expect that when you get into this relationship, she gonna do this or he gonna do that. You know,
Yeah.
the beauty of what happened with Oshea and I is that we met at a time where a whole lot of work needed to be done on each one of us. Meaning that if
So,
we had,
so you know, O'Shea is her husband. So
that's my balance. No.
her balance. There we go.
Yeah, that's my husband. So when we first met, if we had tried to grow the relationship that we have now, we probably wouldn't be together, because a whole lot of stuff would have came up because of what we hadn't dealt with self first, right? So unbeknownst to us, the universe knew what it was doing, and we trusted the process.
Yeah.
So throughout our friendship, he's working on him, I'm working on me, and one day we woke up and we realized that we were in this, right? So we don't have an anniversary date because we don't know when it happened. We just saw the maturation of this relationship, come to what it is. But it also brought us to a space where we don't argue. We have a way of communicating that when something uncomfortable shows up, we listen more than we speak, right? And as uncomfortable as that might be, the reason why I'm bringing this up is because in discomfort is where the growth is. Right? So in it, as uncomfortable as it might be, because I want to be heard, I have to listen to because a lot of times we don't know what the outsider looking in is thinking, right?
Yeah.
And it's okay for someone to have their opinion about who you are and what you're doing, and you not feel nothing about it. That's the hard part. How can I not feel nothing about it? How can I let him be exactly who he is, state his point of view, hear it, and then see how I would like to address it versus just lashing back because I want to be right?
Oh, Lord. That's not always the easiest thing for everybody.
Right. But that's where the soul work comes in.
Yes.
Personally, I never like the way it feels to argue. So I'm not going to put myself in the space where I'm going to go back and forth, because you're opening yourself up for all the hurt, all the ridicule, all the misunderstandings. And that's what an argument is. It's a misunderstanding of people trying to get another person to hear them, right? But the other person might very well hear you. There's a misunderstanding, that the understanding is being missed, right? So now we got to go and understand what's happening. And when we understand it, it creates a balance inside of self. So now when the conversation comes up, we can now converse with an energy that it's saying we are only communicating to move through this and heal, not to become at odds with anything in the universe, especially each other.
Yeah. So do you feel like it's important when you're talking about balance? It's important to have the intention to set an intention for whatever, if there's a miscommunication, whether it's a relationship, a romantic relationship, or a friendship or whatever, is to have an intention of we're looking for clarity and to find the
In
connection.
conflict, yes, but
Mhm.
beforehand, if you are the non-conflictual person, then
Mhm.
9 times out of 10, conflict won't even come your way. Because Shantae ain't gonna come at me talking any old kind of way, because she knows that I'm not going to be in conflict with her. You see? So when we talk about setting intentions, the only intention you can set is for self. You can't set an intention for anyone else.
So, okay. So you
Which
set
is
the intention for yourself. Okay. Go ahead.
and this is the part that becomes the miscommunication within someone's mind, right? The
Mhm.
fact that because someone else is involved, we have to now think about things differently, right? But it's not so much thinking about things differently, it's thinking about things in addition to, right? So we don't have to compromise. We now have a conversation so that we can be on the same page and move forward in that energy, right? So
Mhm.
more than anything, it's a I don't even want to call it's not an agreement, but for lack of a better word, it's the acknowledgement that if this is the way you're vibrating and this is the way I'm vibrating, let's meet in the middle so that we can vibrate higher together.
Okay.
You
Okay.
know,
Yeah. And so, but you can only control you at
right.
the end of the day.
Yeah. So if the other person steps out of whatever that
Agreement is.
yeah, for lack of a better word, if they
Yeah.
step outside of that, then now the conversation is, oh, well, the reason why this made me feel this way is because our previous conversation said that this is what we were not going to do. And if the other person comes back and says that was my only choice, then it's up to you to understand it or not, because some people are in particular situations where they have to adjust on the spur of the moment. But if you know that you trust that person, and we're not going to even talk about your spouse or your mate,
Mhm.
just the other person, period, that you're in this conversation with.
Yeah.
It's now saying that, okay, well, there's some adjustments that need to be made because we didn't take this into account before.
Mhm. Okay. 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 That's so so when we're thinking about balance, if you were to say there's 1, 2, or 3 internal things that we just need to make sure, like just key things that you need to make sure that you either have or focus on, or your intention is on that, what is that thing or thing?
Mind, body, spirit.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
You know, how is your mind working?
Yeah.
How is your body functioning? Where's your spirit lie? These are important because, let's say, for instance, that, we are very clear with how we want to move forward with our mind, right? But
Mm-hmm.
our bodies aren't moving in that way. Our bodies are procrastinating,
Mm.
right? Then
Mm-hmm.
we have to check our spirit, right? And say, okay, spirit, let me know what I need to do to make these slight adjustments so
Mm.
that we can all work together for the greater good.
Yeah.
Because if you start to look at yourself as these multiple entities, because everybody is dealing with multiple personalities. We hear that all the time, especially Geminis, they got 4, not 2, right? So, so with that, these thoughts, let's just call them thoughts, not personalities, not extra people, but these thoughts are working together,
Mm-hmm.
right? But it's all inside of your head. So you can't expect the person outside of your head to know exactly what's going on in there.
Mm.
Even if they can read your mind, you can't expect them to get it, not the way you do. So how can we communicate better as a people to where we can come to the point where we can get it and then become actionaries, not reactionaries to what's going on with the situation or with life in general? Because we're only responding based off of the information that we've gathered throughout our lives. We're not always just responding to the moment. And if we wash our hands to the previous moment and allow the new moment to be what it is, we can be more clear on how to address these situations.
Yeah.
And
I like that. Yeah.
yeah, there's a balance in that, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Because a lot of times we do, like the concept of having scars, that's really what the show is about. Like you have scars, you've experienced a certain level of trauma. And so whatever you may experience in the now moment, it may not even be this the discussion you're having with this person. You're triggered from something that happened, 10 years ago. Yeah, or when you were 2. Exactly.
That's why too in the book we talk about how I like to call it the doorbell effect, right? A lot of times, let's say for instance, your house is the house that everybody come and hang out at. You got the kicking spot, right? Then you get to the point where you're like, you know what? I'm trying to declutter my life, right? You start cleaning up and all of this stuff. And then, certain energies that used to show up, they don't feel comfortable there no more because they can't just smoke and drink there like they used to because you don't have that stuff in your house no more, right? Then it gets to the point where you've grown to the point where let's just say that you're not going to let anything interrupt your flow of where you're going. Let's say you're in the middle of a meditation or whatever, or praying, and you don't want any interruption. So you allow yourself to get centered, even if they are at the door ringing your doorbell and they banging, talking about, hey, why your door locked? You don't ever lock your door. Now they're noticing a change in you.
Yeah.
It's time for you to notice the change in you too. So then it gets to the point where, you've now outgrown that house. You don't even fit into that house no more because you can't flow through that house the way you used to because you've grown past those moments in your life, right? Yeah. So this is where you let go of what's good because, this house paid off. What am I going to do? But there's something great out there for me. So I'm going to go ahead and move. But those same people coming and ringing that doorbell, not only is the doorbell broke, but you don't live there no more, right? So they can push those buttons as much as they want to, but they cannot get to you because you're not there. So when you identify where you are, and this is just a metaphor because when you identify where you are, you can be that anywhere you go. You can move back into that house if you want to, but people are going to just be ringing that doorbell like they used to. They're not going to keep pushing your buttons because they know how you'll respond. They know how you react. Now you have to identify, how am I going to be, not react, but just be? How will I center myself? What do I have to do to get myself in balance so that these triggers do not show up as triggers? They show up as points that identify my healing.
Wow. I like that a lot. I like that a lot because you're literally saying take responsibility for your everything and know that everything else, everything outside of you is responding to you. So if you don't like how things show up, then it's like, okay, well, let me do some work and see, where am I not showing up? How am I just kind of like annoying myself? Because if the knocks are annoying you, it's like, well, how am I participating in that? And then, like you said, you have to be relentless. It sounds like you have to be kind of relentless with it. Like, is it with this process of changing? Like, I think that's the thing that people when you're shifting, when you're growing, there's so
transforming, when you're going through a transformation.
Yes, when you're going through a transformation, is there a time limit? Because a lot of times people are like, all right, so I got about 2 weeks and I need to be different, okay? Like,
that's where the problem lies. It's just like a pregnancy. If you only want to be pregnant for 2 weeks, you're not going to have a healthy baby.
That's true.
If you don't go through all of these trimesters, then you will either miscarry, or you're really putting yourself in a space to where you just it just can't be that way, right? Now it'd be a beautiful thing if you can, right? So I'm not saying that transformation doesn't happen in 2 weeks. It definitely happens in a night, so it doesn't have to take forever. But what we do have to know is that we are human beings having this experience. So there are things that are going to show up, new things that'll present themselves that you've never dealt with before. and you're going to have to grow through those too. So a lot of people think I've arrived, but arrived where?
Yeah.
You arrived here for this moment in time so that you can arrive to a new moment as well.
So nobody can just say, hey, I did it. It's cool. Good. I don't have to grow again for another like 3-4 years. You're saying?
No, we growing every day. If you don't have to grow for another 3-4 years, then try not eating or drinking for 3 or 4 years.
You done said it right now. Wow. So
that's why a part of the balance is what we're putting into our bodies. You know, what we are allowing to release from our bodies. If we're holding on to, I wish that such and such would change too, then we haven't fully grown to the space that we need to grow to.
Yeah.
So still now we know we need work. We have a lot of work to do on ourselves. But if someone is coming to us saying, you know what, I would like to grow. I like the light that you're shining, and how can I get some of that? Then you address that. But to focus on, let me help this person change. Let me show them what change look like. It's still an outside journey, but life is an inside journey. You know?
I love it. Yeah. Okay. So outside of a Reiki session or something like that, just if it's just one thing, if a person is saying, I just want to change my life starting today.
I would ask the person, what is it? Like, what is it that like we have this place called Vibrations in Inglewood, right? And people used to come in and be like, can you just make me a cup of tea, any tea? Because I just want some tea because it tastes good, right? They don't know nothing about tea. There are 2 questions that I would ask them. One would be, how would you like to feel? And the other question would be, what are you trying not to feel? Right? Because those 2 questions allow someone to look at the polarity in self. You know, so in that case, I make a full line, Oshea and I, we make a full line of skin and hair care product. Maybe they just need some sage spray. Maybe they don't even need a cup of tea. Because if they're not telling me, if they say, I need something that just make me feel real good, I need to be in balance. Well, we got a blend called the Balance Blend, right? It helps to cleanse the kidneys, the liver, and the pancreas, right? But if they ain't telling me that they are insulin dependent diabetic, and I tell them, oh, I'm gonna make you this tea and you're gonna feel good, and they pass out, now I got a liability suit, I need to know who they are with self. Gotcha. Because there's always certain aspects of self that you know about that you're not willing to share with just anybody.
Yeah.
So me personally, I have come to the place where I need to be a safe space. And me being a safe space allows other people to come to me with whatever it is that they're dealing with, and they feel safe, right? So outside of the book and the teas and the hair and skincare products and all of the wellness things, we had to start doing retreats, right? Because what we noticed is that they can read the book all day long, but if they're not getting outside of their space to see what something else could actually be like, then they waddle in the space that they're in, right? So the retreats allow people to come outside of self, come outside of the norm. Now I can think and see more clearly, and I can say, oh, okay, now I can kind of scratch the surface of what my life purpose is. What do I like? What do I not like? And the reason why the would you marry you is so important is because a lot of times people are in spaces, and they could be very beautiful spaces, but they don't know who they are in that space because they were born into it, or they've grown into it. They've been in it for so long, good relationships, but 2 good people don't always need to be together. Sometimes there's some great people out there for both of them. And if they say, you know what, this is our reality. And so let's just, grow past this. Don't feel like we have to be stuck in it, because that's why I got these stomach issues, because I'm a life path 3 and I'm holding on to this stress because I don't want to stress you out, because you're a good man. And I'm not about to tear you down just so you could divorce me. So let's talk about this. And then that good man says, oh, because I am a good man, I get it. I hear you. You're not happy. Okay, well, let's decide what we're going to do to address your happiness, right? So then he allows her the space to go and breathe. The retreats are a space to breathe.
Yeah.
And a lot of times when we exhale, not a lot of times, every time we exhale, we get rid of toxins in our bodies. So the first thing I would tell somebody to do is breathe. You know?
Yeah.
Because in breath is a more clear thought.
Okay.
It may not be the clearest, but it's clearer than the last one.
Yeah. Breathe. And then think about mind, body, and soul and get in alignment with it. Okay? Because, and I just want to say that it really is like, you know, I like to joke around sometimes, but this is really serious business because it's a lot of outward stimulation in society. And though we're in a time at this moment where, you know, there may be some inward stuff that we can, you know, we may not have as many distractions as we might have once had. You're always going to have to deal with yourself. And no matter where you move, you can move clear across the country, you can get into a new relationship, you are still going to carry yourself with you. And so
what self do you want to carry with you?
Exactly. So that's what I just wanted to make sure that people understand. You always gonna carry yourself with you no matter where you go, what you do.
But Audra, just to kind of bring it full circle with even your project, you know, yes, you take you everywhere you go, right? But you don't have to hold on to the scars.
Yes.
Right. And that this journey, it's a healing journey. So in as serious as it is, it's very fun. And a lot of people feel like they can't have a sense of humor because they trying to be serious about their life. Being serious about your life could be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It's the lack of seriousness that get us into the mess.
Oh, yeah.
Lack of fun. You know, that's where a lot of people start to develop these spaces of depression and this and that because they are not willing to release whatever that is. This brings us to balance. Either they joke too much or they not having enough fun.
Yes. And I know that I have experienced probably both, but mostly the probably not having enough fun. And I needed to inject some fun into my life. And one of the ways that I did that was actually doing stand-up comedy. I done threw myself on the stage and told everybody my business. And so, you know, but I feel like I truly believe that adding some humor, not taking yourself too seriously, is really, really, really key to healing. Because you think that you're the only one that has some struggles and are going through some things. And when that's why I created the platform is because a lot of times it's just like, hey, we all have scars. So, you know, we don't have to feel alone in the process. So how can go ahead, I'm sorry.
Oh no, I was just gonna say, you know, we have 5 children, right?
Yeah.
And they're all very different personalities.
Yeah.
And so our youngest one, her name is Love. She's 6 now. 2, I realized that I was too serious and I needed to get some balance about myself because I'm a Scorpio and she's a Sagittarius, right?
Oh.
Well, the universe has a very interesting sense of humor. So apparently I wasn't having enough fun with self because Sagittarius comes to let Scorpio know I'll get the work done as long as it's fun. Don't take the fun out of it because I ain't gonna do it if you take the fun out of it, right?
Yeah.
So sometimes, you know, Oshea and I are sitting back and we're doing homework and we're trying to do this. Love gets it, right? But she don't always let us know she get it right then. She'll joke around and play whatever, but when it's showtime, she shows up, you know? And we notice that being the trait with all of our children, even though they're in completely different realms. But this shows also, like when you're I'm talking about it from the children's standpoint, but other people who don't have children could deal with it from a friendship standpoint. Like when you look at your group of friends, they're not all the same. You know, this one played too much. This one is too serious. This one is the one that you can always depend on. You know, I've addressed mind, body, and spirit, but I think that what you were coming real clear on is the balancing the scales of love, life, and relationships.
Mm.
You know, so I was dealing with internal balance, which takes care of the love, life, and relationships, but the direct questions that you were asking me were in the love, life, and relationship realm, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. And there's balance in many different ways. I mean, I think this conversation is something that could be revisited for just purely for health reasons, as far as food and stress levels and all types of things. There's a lot to balance. And again, like, this conversation can go on and on, but I like that, there are some key things that a lot of times we don't think about. And it's like, we want the other person to change. We want the situation to change. Whatever the situation is, it could be a job loss or a new job. And you know what I'm saying? Like, it can throw you off balance because, oh, well, I'm kind of scared because this is a new position for me and I'm the director now, or something like that. So it doesn't always have
about getting grounded.
Yeah.
Getting grounded. What I would say the first thing to do with getting grounded, and that's why when you asked the question initially, I was saying it depends on the person, it depends on the situation. But in any situation, to get grounded, what I would say is to take a moment to breathe, find you some water, drink it, and run your hands under cold water. If those are too many steps, the reality of it is, if you even get one of those out of the way, you now have brought yourself into a new moment where you can stand a little bit more firm.
Got you. I love it. So how can people connect with you? How can they purchase Internal Balance? How can they get some tea if they just want the tea, but not the tea, as in, like,
I give you the tea on yourself,
but the actual tea? Yes. Yes. So how can people connect with you?
The website is subtletiesproducts.com. We pay homage to Queen Tea, which is why it's spelled a particular way, which is SUBTLETIYES products.com. And then I can be found on Instagram at Melanie Luja. Yeah, you can Google it. Internal Balance, Would You Marry You?
Yes.
Come up.
And all the links and everything, I'm going to have everything in the description box as well for YouTube, of course.
See, this is where my balance come in, because usually he answers those questions.
She's like, I think it's, yeah, okay. Yes.
I'm the formulator,
you are the builder. That's what you do. Like, I've built the formulator
on the other side.
Exactly. I love that. You're like, this is what the balance is. And you know how you balance each other. And I think that's amazing.
Yeah. And then too, relinquishing control, which is one thing we really didn't deal with too much, but knowing that if he weren't in my life, I'd be doing all of this myself and stressed out, but because he's capable of doing it, it's just like, sometimes you want to step in and like, you know what, he do it better. Let me just step aside and let him get that done, and I'm gonna stay in my lane. But I know what my lane is. I don't have to wait for him to say, put me in my lane. You see? And that's where people get mad in relationships, because people trying to put them in their place.
Got you. You already know what your strengths are, and you go with your strengths. You're open.
But I didn't always know what my strengths weren't. I felt like I was strong in all the areas. Jack of all trades, master of none.
I know the feeling.
Now I'm in a space where I can master some things, because I know that all the trades are not necessarily the ones that I need to be in, because if I want to focus and become more balanced at this, I need to then say, okay, someone else needs to come in and control this aspect of this business or whatever it is, because if I'm not in a relationship, I still need assistance over here.
Yeah.
People think they need help. You don't need help. Sometimes you just need some assistance.
Yeah. And I understand we cannot do it all by ourselves. I know that firsthand. Because
we don't have to.
But I think that's a really wonderful thing to say, because so many people are dealing with so much, and it throws you off balance because you are not, you can't be everywhere at one time.
At one time.
You can't. So yes, I am so grateful for this conversation. I feel like it's something that needs to be continued because there's so much to talk about when it comes to balance. But this is kind of opening it up for people so they have an understanding of what it is, some tools that you can actually utilize for yourself to get yourself in the flow and to your next level of great, not just good. We're getting to great. We're getting to phenomenal, spectacular. That's what we're talking about.
What she said.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Melanie. I appreciate you.
Absolutely.
Yes.
All right. Taking us into consideration.
Absolutely. This is going to happen. This is going to happen. We already know that. Right. Okay. Yes, so, all right now.